but that's okay. I
Oh,
can
because
turn
the
that off.
text, that's all right.
Yeah, but that's all right. It's great artwork.
Yeah, it is, eh?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm with Ben Pobjie. Is that how you say it? I've only ever
Yeah, it
read.
is. Well
Yeah, yeah.
done.
It's Pobjie. Yeah, yeah. Welcome
It's
to the
really good.
weird. Welcome to the weird name mispronunciation microaggression club. um, Ben has a new book, and it's backwards right now. But
That's
let me
sick.
just turn off mirroring and then move. Hang on. Let me just turn off mirroring and then move so
There
that
you
you
go.
can actually see this book.
Yeah.
It's fabulous artwork. Tell me a bit
I
about
didn't
it,
do the
Ben.
artwork, of course. This is a book about bushrangers who aren't Ned Kelly. Because most of the
Are
books
there
about
more?
bushrangers are about bushrangers who are Ned Kelly.
Yeah.
So here's one about all the others who are just as cool but didn't wear a stupid hat. Uh, and the stories are really interesting. Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
funny as well because
Yeah.
I'm a hilarious dude.
You are.
But yeah, it's just really cool, awesome, interesting stories about violent criminals from Australia's past and all their little shenanigans, their antics, their bloody
Hmm.
deaths, etc.
I think we need that a bit more now because the ability to have history be kind and appreciate the fun
Yeah,
of the problematic, right?
you could put it that way. No,
Have a sense of humor about problematic people, right?
it's interesting though that Ned Kelly is someone who every now and then someone makes an attempt to point out that Ned Kelly is problematic, and that kind of gets resisted.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's quite problematic, being a multiple murderer and everything. But he only killed policemen, so I think
Oh, okay,
that's
yeah.
acceptable in the current climate.
It's perfectly fine to beat up people you disagree with, Ben. Have you not heard that?
Yeah, I think Ned Kelly was Antifa.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Goodness me. Oh, so are we gonna talk about this week or what?
What do you
Is
want to?
it
What do you want?
just
I'm
my
up for
Twitter
talking
feed?
about anything.
Is it just my Twitter feed or has everyone lost their fucking minds?
Are you going to talk? Are you going to talk about the fact that you retweeted Infowars?
What the hell is going on? I'm going to ask you what's going on here.
Would you call yourself an Infowars fan?
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I've seen clips on Rogan. That's about my
Yeah,
exposure, and also just through John Oliver. But um, that famous saying, right? Broken clocks are right twice a day.
yeah. But because what you've
um,
got is Infowars Alex Jones, a crazy, crazy man,
hmm,
finally found
Jessica
someone
Yaniv.
crazier than him to put on.
Oh, it's amazing. I actually just said like what is down is up and up is down right now. It's crazy, and I think
Yeah,
that yeah, there's obviously some serious stuff under this. But my instinct when things are awful is to laugh as or make a crack. I think that's just how people like us are wired, right?
what else can you do? But then this
Yeah.
is the difficulty when it becomes problematic. People say it's problematic to make jokes about some things, and that's
Yeah.
something I reject. There's
Well,
nothing
yeah.
there's nothing, no subject area that can't be joked about, which
Mm.
is not to suggest there's no such thing as a bad joke or a racist joke or a sexist joke or a
Mm.
homophobic joke.
Yeah.
Those exist, but there's nothing that can't be joked about
Yeah.
without, for me, without making the joker a terrible person.
Yeah, and that's. Did you see that Colorado State University words thing that I did the other day, where I shared
I
it?
did, and it's hilarious, and it's almost one of those things where they're so woke they're actually going to end up offending some of the people who they were trying not to offend.
Yeah, but
Like
it's interesting about what's in and what's out, what's acceptable, what's not. Like queer is acceptable and woke, but basket case is going to offend a World War One person with no arms and no legs. I mean, it's silly.
I remember once my 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 when I was a kid, my dad told a joke where there was a baby born who was just a head
Mm.
with no body. And in the joke, this just a head person grew up and ended up having extensive surgery to give himself a body and arms and legs. And then when all the surgery was finished, the first day he walked across the road, got hit by a truck and killed. And the punchline,
It's
the
already
punch,
funny. The imagery is already fantastic.
the
But yes.
punchline, because it was being told by my dad, was he should have quit while he was ahead. And I remember so well.
That's such a problematic joke.
I remember so well my mother going, "Oh, that's terrible. You shouldn't say that." And my dad going, "What is it going to offend people who are just heads?" And this is
Yeah.
like you get to the point where it's like you're worried about upsetting populations that don't even exist.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the Colorado thing. It's like it was interesting that they said don't say disabled, because
Yeah.
there are people who think saying disabled people is offensive and you have to say people with a disability. But I know disabled people who say the exact opposite, who are more offended
Yeah.
by being called people with a disability than they
Because
would
it's
be by disabled.
condescending.
It is. And this is the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, and I think most people, even if they have a preference,
Hmm.
accept that when someone uses one or the other of those, that they are not being malicious, and
Hmm.
they might state their preference, but they're not going to say, "Oh God, these fucking right wing Nazis saying
Yeah.
disabled people." It's like
You
it's
could
not something that you have to put in a policy. It's not something that reasonable people are going
no.
to be making a big thing about.
It's the fact that it was if you walk through and you think about, I used to work at a university and you need to, book several meetings and you need to, have this in a calendar and people need to assemble and they
Yeah.
need to, they need to sit down and they need to debate this and discuss it and put
Oh, that
it
would have
down
taken
and
so long.
decide what's in the list and out of the list. And I just, it's not so much the actual document, it's all of the stuff in the lead up to it.
Yeah.
But like one of my, I have this weird. I shouldn't say this, but really fucked up porn, like the news filter type of stuff, right? Where
Okay. Yep.
like
Go
a
on.
guy is having sex with a roast beef, and
Right.
like a rolled roast beef, and you go, okay, but if you actually walk through the steps required,
Yeah.
like, do you buy it first? And then accidentally get there? Or do you go to the butcher looking guilty with a plan? Do you have to make
Well,
eye
now
contact with a butcher? Do you still cook it afterwards? Like, there's
this
lots of
is
questions,
yeah. This is how you prepare it. It's just prep.
It's tenderizing, it's like,
This is why. This is why it's more socially acceptable to be a pervert, because
yeah.
if you just have normal sexual desires, it's really embarrassing going to buy porn or sex toys. If you're a complete pervert, you can just buy ordinary household objects and no one will suspect a thing.
Exactly. Nobody's going.
It's like you're into. It's like if you're normal and someone sees your browser history, they'll be like, "Oh, you Pornhub, this is disgusting."
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you're a complete pervert, they'll just be like, "Okay, well, goodfood.com, nothing strange there."
Well, I know that
And
I
yet
was.
they're the sickest bastard you ever heard of,
Well,
jerking
that's.
off to recipes.
Oh, have you seen the book Natural Harvest?
No,
Oh gosh,
what
it's
are you
it's
suggesting?
it's recipes for semen, and it's
Oh, right,
actually
right, right. Yeah, yeah, I've heard of that.
it's not satirical. It's deadly serious. I'm not sure if it's satirical or not. It's one
Well,
of
look,
those pose law things where it's just the world is just so absurd
some of
that
us have a surplus that we need to get rid of.
what the fuck is wrong with people? I'm treating teeny, yeah, and there's so much, but that actually links a bit to comedy actually,
Yeah,
because this idea that um, the idea that I think there should be a red tick on Twitter that says, I'm a comedian. Not just a blue. Like there needs to be some sort of actual distinction that says, okay, I'm being funny. You know, this
Yeah,
is, I'm not a journalist, I'm a comedian. And this is, because this idea
that's the
that
only way.
this, like you said, when you know someone's a pervert or whatever, like Stanhope says this all the time. He's been trying to offend everyone and trying to be outrageous, and everyone just goes, "Oh, that's him. I don't give a shit." That's just Doug. It's like, fuck it. I want to get cancelled because it's usually pretty good for people's careers at this point, isn't it?
Well,
I said
the
this
irony,
morning my Patreon needs help, so I need to
it all
get
depends at
cancelled.
what point of your career you get cancelled.
Yes,
You
yes.
need to get
At the
cancelled before
mid-level.
you're a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you get cancelled when you're already at the top of your profession, that's really bad. But if you get cancelled as you're on the up, it just pushes you further. Although it's not necessarily good for your artistic practice because
No.
it
Well,
can turn you into, it can mean you're concentrating. You get cancelled, and then sometimes what you do after that ends up just being too deliberately reactionary against what happened to you, which is not good either.
and that's my concern with Aziz. Actually, I think he actually nailed it. I think he actually did pretty well, even though everyone's bitching and moaning how nothing was ever enough
No,
for
of
him.
course.
It's never enough. And yes, the broader picture of you, that, but I'm concerned about Louis because I think he might double down and
He
just
seems to be.
he seems very angry about it.
Yeah.
And understandably, but at the same time, he's kind of, I'm a little bit like, oh, because I'm such a big fan of Louis C.K. I'm sitting on tenterhooks going, oh, I don't know how to, I'm worried. I hope that you can come back and actually understand and show compassion.
Well, it's a funny thing with Louis C.K. for me because of he's at the center of this so-called debate about, how long is long enough before someone is allowed to come back. And it's a
Allowed.
strange, this is the key for me because there's no official body. There's no
So
king
they've
of
appointed
comedy
themselves.
decreeing when
Yeah.
it's like, well, a comedian who gets in trouble and is called out and humiliated as Louis was. I loathe what Louis does. Louis. I should say right here, Louis did things much worse than anything Aziz Ansari did. But the point is, a comedian, if something like that happens, they can come back whenever they want, and the question of whether they succeed, that is up to, well, audiences basically.
Yeah.
Now, Louis comes back. There are some people who would rather him not come back, but hell, there were some people, from the start of his career who would rather not see him because that's the nature of comedy. There were some people who'd rather he not come back. Fine. But he had a go at coming back. Some club owners, room runners didn't want him around. Some said, okay, he can come on. He comes on, an audience, gives him a standing ovation. Well, shit happens, You are obviously not in his target audience.
How dare
You're
those
not one of the
people
people who
like
would
something
give him a
you don't
standing
like?
ovation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to watch him.
Yeah.
It's like it's a weird thing to say, oh, how long is it before a comedian should be allowed? We're not in control.
No.
What's the point of talking about how long? There's no one who can stop a comedian coming back whenever they want.
Yeah.
From that. Unless he's put in jail, which, okay, let's argue about whether he should have been. But unless he's put in jail, there's nothing. It's a moot point, There's this. Oh, should it be 1 year? Should it be 2 years? Should he be out forever? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Make your argument that he should never do comedy again. It won't change anything.
But also, who the fuck appointed them?
Exactly. No one appointed anyone. No one gets to decide what other people like in comedy. No one gets to decide who is doing comedy.
Yeah.
If you run a room, you can decide who does your room. You can't decide who performs in anyone else's room.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Well, it's the same all over. I can decide what I watch on my TV. I don't get to decide what other people watch.
Yeah.
I don't get, and I think my personal belief is I should not decide the moral fibre of other people based on what they watch either.
No, because
Which is
I've always
what
just watched a varied range of things. Like that's
yeah.
the, I think that's the troubling thing about all these the recommendation engines is this assumption. Yes, this yes, people radicalize, but most reasonable people, like I've confused that algorithm since it began because I deliberately I watch
think I have too.
anything from Rogan to Pacman. I can't watch that fucking Young Turks. She drives me nuts. But there's a few like I watch a range of like varying independent types of things, and it's just like it's why who gets to decide this? And also, I think that this is I think we're also just witnessing some sort of weird ass social contagion. I know I'm seeing it with my friends, and you're seeing it with in your networks as well. Where this woke, I call it. I actually own Church of Woke, WOQUE, because that's more woke than woke. It's more fancy. Yep. It's got more woke. Yep. More. And I never thought that I'd be someone who made fun of this stuff.
No, me either.
That's what I find weird is that I never thought I would find myself having alliance, and that's why I retweeted Infowars, because they were literally the only, like, other than Ricky Gervais and Breitbart and Infowars are the only people that are reporting on this JY situation. The Australian did one.
This is what people mean when they say, if the left does not oppose terrible things by supposed allies, then the right's going to step in and fill the void. And that's what happens.
They're handing Trump the election at this point. The second I saw, and this isn't, I don't want to get into this because I said this like yesterday, but the second I saw Elizabeth Warren's pronouns on Twitter, no, I'm serious. I said, that's it. It's over. Because most people don't buy this.
No. But more than that, most people don't want their presidential candidates bothering about it,
because it's not actually significant.
Yes, you want your presidential candidate to be, to have respect for people and be nice and everything, but
that's the baseline.
Into that kind of minutiae, it's like, no, you got bigger things to worry about. This just seems a waste of energy on your part, given the enormous job you have to do.
Yeah. That's right, and it's not actually. I'm not having, again, I need to qualify this. I'm not having a go at the idea. I'm having a go at the context of the mindset behind it, not the people.
I mean,
the idea. The idea is fine.
I'm like you. I used to be very much the person who would say, look, people who complain about political correctness are just complaining about having to treat people nicely. Not having, not being allowed to be racist and sexist anymore.
Yeah.
But I've come to see that while, yes, plenty of people who complain about political correctness are doing exactly that, there's also complaining about political correctness because they see genuinely stupid crap.
Yeah.
Like Colorado State University's, list of banned words.
Yeah.
Like a guy, like a sports commentator in America who was, had to be taken off the air because he had the same name as a Confederate general.
Yeah.
It's like really dumb things. And it's like, this is why political correctness is a terrible term, because people use it and they mean different things. Some people are using it to mean being nice, and some people are using it to mean just stupid shit that we shouldn't be worrying about.
Yeah. But I guess here, there's actually, and that's actually just where, again, according to Colorado State University, words change and language evolves.
Yeah.
Except when it doesn't.
What on that list, the craziest thing for me was, it said, if you don't use addicted in a colloquial sense, use hooked on. And I thought, but that means addicted. That's just slang for. What are you talking about?
And also, isn't that violent towards people who like fish? And
It's
vegans?
violent. It's violent towards one-handed pirates, but
Fuck me.
it can't be even by your own lunatic Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland view of the world. It can't be offensive to say, oh, I'm addicted to coffee, but not be offensive to say I'm hooked on coffee, because they mean literally the same thing.
Yeah.
Hooked on is a term for addiction.
It's
Oh
and this
my
is what
goodness.
and I actually, just for those
It's
that
like saying don't call them disabled, call them tards. They prefer to be called
yeah, don't say faggot, say queer, right?
but this is the other way around.
Fuck you. Anyway, it's really funny. But when people, and I think that's the thing that people need to be aware of, is that if you're seeing people like Ben and myself and people that are otherwise have been on your side in the past, it would look like I said this, it looks like I've been radicalized or I've gone alt-right. Like this whole idea that, but it's actually, you need to look at this, which is that it's not the hangover from the 80s with this PC gone mad. This is a legacy from sort of the 80s pushback. With political correctness. This is a very different thing. And I hate PC. I hate SJW as well. I don't like using those. They're funny. And at this point, it's an archetype. You know, it's actually an archetype, and it's shorthand and it's symbolic, right? It's one of those things. But this is madness. It is actually, it's just this, and that's why it is actually, I actually do believe we're seeing our very first online religion, which is quite a strange anthropological, when you actually look at it from a view of history. We've gone online and the first thing we've done is create a really weird religion.
Well, maybe it's true that most people do crave religious feeling.
Yeah.
And that's why we have religions. And so when people, abandon the old religions, they do attach themselves to something else with the same passion.
Well, atheists, there's a lot of atheists who you would say,
atheists,
you're being pretty dogmatic as well, But yeah, it's just quite interesting to see. But I just want it to be clear, neither of us have changed our views on things.
No, not really.
Have we? I've opened my mind.
Not at all. If anything, I think I'm more progressive than I was, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But in comparison to people around me, I feel less progressive.
I think it's just labeling. I mean, again, I've been cast out of.
Oh, totally.
I've been called not a feminist, a real feminist, when actually I'm the literal definition of what real feminism actually was and is.
Oh wow!
And so I understand. I think it's actually when you control the language and you control the message, you control the narrative. And
absolutely.
It's interesting because it's funny how it can go from problematic to Nazi within 30 seconds. The leaps.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like you say, we do need to, you do need to qualify everything. And it's like when I'm just what I'm wary of, and it's a genuine concern. I don't want to upset people. I want to upset some people. I don't want to upset the wrong people, the people who I respect or like.
And the people who pay the bills.
When I mock or deride what I see as the stupidities of the ultra woke, so to speak, I'm mocking and deriding those things.
The extremes, yeah.
I am not suggesting, by association, that everything in that realm is worthy of mockery. I'm not suggesting that caring about using respectful language in general is stupid.
But that's the point, is that most of the people who've been outcast and cancelled, so to speak, or they're actually people who agree on 90 in my case, 98% of everything else.
Of course.
I disagree on one issue, which is this gender thing, right? And just have issues around policy and unintended consequences around that policy. That's all. It's the only thing generally that I disagree with, right? But it's just really funny because it's interesting because there's actually an incoherence and inconsistency to it. I want to go back to as is, because what I want to is that it was never enough. But one thing that I found interesting around this was, in terms of feminist critique of this, was that you can't blame toxic masculinity and blame men as a class,
right?
And then also blame the individual
exactly, yeah,
for their actions that they weren't aware.
Yeah.
You can't blame them for being in this system that's socialized, and then because that's actually not consistent with feminist which is that we're socialized a certain way.
Yes.
So there's a certain point where, and even I could even stretch that at Louis. Like I could even stretch that at Louis. That's kind of on the. I think you know that it's a bit, but on the same, I can also say, well, you can't then vilify. You can't say that patriarchy is a thing. You can't say that toxic masculinity is a thing, and then lynch Al Franken for a joke and lynch Aziz for not fully reading the cues, because men are either socialized or they're not.
Yes, exactly.
And yes, there are other extremes of that. Obviously, I'm not defending those that are actually sociopaths, but guys that are doing their best. I mean, my husband's not perfect. I'm sure you're not, And
no, I am.
Yeah, I'm not, but like fucking hell.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
You can't have it both ways.
You can't, on the one hand, say this guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And at the same time, hold him up as saying this is an example of everything that's wrong with men.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Either this guy is something horrible out of the box as an individual, or this guy is a product of the world we live in.
Yeah.
And if he's a product of the world we live in, hold him accountable, hold him responsible.
And embrace it and teach him.
Also admit that he is a victim of the systems we live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And take that approach. Don't take the approach of saying this is what the patriarchy does to people, and also he made a deliberate decision to be an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, because
just for no reason, by the way. I hate the idea that people act without real motive, that people want to be evil.
I don't believe that at all.
And no one ever does, really. Some people, as you say, they're genuine sociopaths, and even that is, a mental illness of a sort.
Well, have you seen Yaniv's parent? I mean,
oh my.
Often people are a product of their upbringing. I don't know. Again, I've got to be careful about what I say here, but it's, like people are a product of a number of things. It's a number of factors. It's genetics plus socialization plus environment. It's just like fucking hell. Can't people just be people and understand? And I know that I'm not saying that in a simplistic way. I'm saying that from a very informed place.
No, this is complicating things, which is what you have to. This is something that came to me recently. Is what bugs me about the atmosphere in just public discourse now. Is that not that long ago, certainly in left, liberal, progressive circles, it would be considered a sign of intelligence, a sign of maturity to acknowledge complexity.
Yeah. And
to bring nuance into a conversation and to say about things, look, it's not that simple. Look at the multiple factors at play here.
Yeah.
Now, we really do have a situation where to show your progressive credentials, you almost have to simplify everything down to one thing. And this is why
make a flag.
A lot of people, exactly. Yeah. You get so many people on social media making big, bold statements like, this is Nazism, and if you disagree, you're just as bad.
No debate.
This guy is scum. and anyone who has any sympathy for him can. I unfriended someone on Facebook because they literally said, there was a case of, I think, a father who had, one of these tragic cases of a father who kills his child, and they said, look, if you have any sympathy whatsoever for this man, unfriend me now. And I said, okay, I'm unfriending you because I do.
Well, I sympathise with everybody.
I have sympathy. I don't have empathy for him, and I don't have apologies for him. What I have is sympathy for any man, any person who life has twisted and beaten down to such an extent that they would do the worst thing imaginable.
Yeah.
People don't do that because they're a cartoon villain.
No.
People do that because they are severely broken. And I want this guy to be in jail for the rest of his life. Sure, I don't want him to get away with it. But do I have any sympathy for him? Yes, I do. You can feel sympathy for terrible people.
Yeah. And
who do terrible things.
But
I unfriended this person because they said, well, unfriend me now. And I said, well, I guess I should. You told me to. I unfollowed someone on Twitter because they said, hey, if you watch a TV show that I don't like, unfollow me now. And I thought, well,
what was the TV show?
It was Todd Sampson's Body Hack. So I said, if you watch Body Hack, unfollow me. I'm like, oh, all right.
What?
It could be fucking dangerous now that I know how you feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then.
God knows what kind of mess I could get in replying to you in future.
Yeah, that's... but then again, were they just being ironic?
Or on Body Hack. Oh, you fucking cunt. No, it's...
It's not a coincidence that Marvel movies are the top grossing movies and hit, because the behavior is so much like, if you have any exposure to those fandoms, it's that hero versus villain, It's that black and white, those archetypal.
A lot more nuanced than actual political.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, oh god, fandom in general.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of things, but I hate interacting with other fans, even of the things that I like.
Yeah,
because they're just, man.
Well, I used to run the fan communities for some musicians.
They suck all the joy. They suck the joy out of everything.
Yeah, they're too intense. It's way too. But I actually have this thing. I believe that Pride's become a fandom.
Oh,
that's a controversial view, but the rainbow flag has become a fandom. It's another form of, for many people, it's cosplay, right? They don't understand that sort of real political struggle behind it, and it's just a costume.
No, and if you
I just put you in an uncomfortable position, but that's my view, not Ben's. But
I am no expert on Pride or that.
No, me either. I'm just saying, just from what I've heard from other people.
Look. I hear from people who are in the community that they're not big fans of the formal movement anymore, and I can't comment except to say that I dislike the fact that there are other people who will then say that therefore that they are on the other side. I dislike anyone who says, if you dislike this particular organisation, you must be opposed to their goals. It's like Antifa.
Yeah. It's just it's tribal bullshit.
You can support Antifa or not support them, but you can oppose Antifa and not be pro-fascist. I hate the idea. Oh, Antifa. So you're not anti-fascist? Well, no, I am anti-fascist. I don't like those guys.
But the name is deliberate, right? They've done that on purpose.
But the name is deliberate the same way the Democratic Republic of Korea is
exactly. It's just branding, man.
And no one fucking falls for that.
The Ministry of Truth.
Exactly.
Twitter trust and safety.
And this is not even saying, this is not even anti. It's like a lot of people.
Who is pro-fascist?
A lot of people are pro-Antifa, and that's fine. I don't think it's a terrible thing to support Antifa. I just think there are things you can legitimately object to things that Antifa doing without supporting fascism. Yeah, and that to me that's not even
binary thinking, isn't it?
Political argument. To me, that's just logically obvious.
It's stupid. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's pretty funny.
And I think there's similar things with, you know, pride or, you know,
Anything, any
it's like
movement.
saying, oh, you don't agree with the decision the pride people made, so what, you're anti-pride? You think gay people should be ashamed?
No,
No, that's not, no, just,
there's some
all
issues.
right, leave me
Yeah.
alone. I'm going off to watch a Tarantino film.
That's problematic too.
That's very problem.
Because he's friends with Weinstein.
I
Weinstein,
read
sorry.
I read an
Fuck.
article saying, "Oh, it's time to cancel Tarantino." And the
Oh,
interesting thing about the first thing that occurred to me on that again, and it went back to the thing like, you know, when a comedian's allowed to be, it's like it suddenly came to me in a moment of clarity. Well, you're just a dude writing a column, and you don't get to cancel any. No one gets to cancel anyone. That's the crazy thing. People decide, hey, he's cancelled. Well, you know, piss into the wind, my friend.
can I be honest? Yeah.
Can't decide that.
If I had the power to make people disappear, I'm stealing this joke from a friend of mine, sorry. But she said, if I had the power to disappear people with my mind and my thoughts
Yeah.
and my words, I wouldn't be using it on soft targets like that. I'd be using it on actual evil.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's just it. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you go back in time to kill baby Hitler,
Yeah, yeah. If I had that kind of power.
but you decide I'm not going to kill Hitler. I'm going to go down to the music hall because there's a guy who they're making a wife beating joke that I have to get rid of.
Yeah, but it's
before Hitler.
But it's basically treating culture, all culture, like it's some sort of revolutionary political movement. It's
And it's
like
so
and it's just a distortion of, because obviously my background's politics, and it's just like this is not the French Revolution. They're not chopping heads off, man.
no.
Those extreme reactions are for a certain purpose, which is when there's an actual tyrant in charge and you take over and you seize property and you seize power, not over a guy who got his dick out in the toilets.
And incidentally, if they were chopping heads off, your primary target should not be a TV show where someone made a head chopping joke.
Yeah. It was clearly... I was sitting here going, do I have privilege in the sense that I was raised to question and be curious and read and always question everything. My dad was, despite all of his flaws and being a drunk, it was a good thing because he actually didn't give a fuck about society. I actually grew up with someone who just longed to be a hermit, and he didn't give a rat's fuck about society. We would actually sit and have long conversations for hours and hours on end, you know, about the meaning of life and, you know, books. He didn't have many possessions when he died, but he had a lot of books. And it was just one of those things where maybe I just assumed that was the way for everybody, which was that people talk to their parents, or that we would just talk all sorts of things about why we're here, the meaning of life, you know, and he didn't give a shit about social norms generally. So that was one good thing that was instilled in me from very young, to sort of not care. And I'm wondering whether I'm just in the minority, and whether the bad jokes he used to tell, they're so bad. They're awful.
Well, you're not in the minority there.
No, but I grew up,
you're in the minority.
Yeah.
I think the thing people don't understand is that everyone is in the minority.
Yeah.
Everyone's life is a life
some kind of
completely
minority,
alien to most people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people come out into the world thinking everyone around them basically was brought up almost exactly like them, and that therefore, however they behave and whatever they say is just them deciding to be that way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way.
No.
You know, people around you have had massively different experiences. It's like everyone really is fighting their own war, you know.
Absolutely. And I actually think we have more in common.
You meet someone who's a complete asshole, and it's like, I'm not saying let them off the hook for being a complete asshole, but do understand they're not a complete asshole because at some point they just thought, I think it would be fun to be awful to people. That's not how people work.
No. But one of the first things you do in social work when you get like a child protection case, this was very, very long time ago, the first thing you do is a genogram, which is the family history.
Yeah.
You talk about where they came from and what happened. Because it's actually just understanding how they got here. And the thing is, it's actually really interesting because I strongly believe that the internet particularly is that most people are on here because they want to connect with other people, and it actually starts with fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like for me, when I started the internet you know what I mean? Started on the internet in.
Way to go! Well done, Al Gore.
Yeah, it's a series of thanks for that, by the way,
tubes. Thank you for inventing the internet.
I just hacked it together. I just hacked it together with some glue. No, but in 1996, I got on the internet, and the first thing I did was Google my favourite things.
Yeah,
my favourite musicians. And I then started my career being the person for that favourite musician. You know, like that being the webmaster for her, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to name her because of the nature of my channel. I don't, you know, at the moment, just, you know.
Yep.
But that's and I was looking at the Simpsons websites because I was a fan of shit, and you had the Lisa, you know, you had the web ring, and you had the you know, all of those sorts of things, right? And it's like, but everyone, that's what Reddit is. You're just a fan of something. Everyone I talk to about the internet, they just signed up because they're a fan of something, and they liked. And they found people that love something. And I just like, well, yeah, I think you should just stay out of politics and get back to loving some stuff.
Let people enjoy themselves.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know.
And how about, and also enjoy things without the need to rip on other people for enjoying other things.
Yeah. And unless it's harmful to other people, or impinges on their rights, then, you know, have at it. Let it go. It's all good. And it's just crazy. But yeah, it's very weird. I won't talk about the example, very personal example of me not liking a certain thing and it causing a rift, but because it's too personal. But
oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that I can't retweet. But I actually was sitting there going, why can't I retweet Infowars if I want? Without people thinking that I'm... But you know when you have this conversation, and you've probably gone through this as well, it's not about the fact that my friends disagree. It's not about the fact that I have a discussion or whatever. It's about, you know what, it feels personal in the sense that they didn't give the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure, because you've gone through some of these things as well, where it's not that you're hurt. You're not hurt because someone disagreed with you. You're hurt because I'm hurt because they think I'm dumb, you know, or they think I'm evil, or that I'm capable of the kinds of things that they say. Yeah. I think that's where, because you write for Penthouse, right? Have you had any pushback because of that? Because of the publication that you dare to write for?
I haven't been doing it for long. I haven't had a lot of pushback. I lost a friend because I wrote something they didn't like, but that was less about Penthouse than I did have. I posted an article I'd written for Penthouse on Facebook, and one of my friends commented without having noticed that I had written it. And was
that the feminist baiting conversation?
Leave it.
Was that the Toy Story thing?
Leave it to Yes. Yeah. And it was leave it to Penthouse to publish something anti-feminist, and it's like,
I saw that.
Me, actually.
Yeah. I think I actually commented and said,
and it was like,
yeah,
it was actually fine. It was quite a respectful conversation, but it was obvious that the fact that it was in Penthouse had coloured them to the point where they assumed that it wasn't me, because they assumed that I wouldn't. So
that's a good thing on some level. It's
It
It's
is.
kind of a twisted thing, and it's. But what I've learned from this week, and I hate banging on about this thing. It's just it covers so many issues, which is this JY business, which is
No,
the
no.
fact that I've become now more acutely aware of who will and won't publish certain things. And so
Yes.
I actually am now more likely to not. It's kind of judging the source is kind of a form of ad hominem in a sense where it's like no I think and Colette I don't read but the Colette are copying some shit today over some Amazon thing that they did, and it's just like it's just like well no, what we should do is look at the actual what they're saying, what's being
Yes.
said, not slag off the publication, because I've found that it's very weird to see that, like I said, it comes back to the fact that Infowars are the only ones pushing Yaniv
Yeah.
and grilling her.
But what is revealing to me about good old JY is that
Fuck me.
this has come out and this is, burgeoned into a bigger story. And it's very interesting to me that there are a lot of people saying this is a terrible thing that's happening. And there are a few very fringe people saying, oh, actually, I'm on Yaniv's side and it's fine. This is, she's a brave warrior for freedom and that.
They're not. They're actually sock puppet accounts. I've got screenshots of it of them. They're actually, and everyone's like, "Yeah, come on, yeah."
But what's interesting to me is that most of the people who are sort of
Silent.
the people who, yeah, exactly, they're silent, and that's very revealing to me. That reveals to me that a lot of people do actually realise that this is an absurd situation, because otherwise they would be coming in and making a comment. They realise it's terrible, but they don't want to comment on the other side from where they usually would be.
Yeah, because they'll end up branded. They'll be outcast, much like they've done for other
they
people.
Fear that. And it's not an unreasonable fear.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I think
you'll be welcomed. You'll be welcomed.
The funny thing is,
it's fine.
The funny thing is, they're probably all thinking the same thing. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. If they actually all did say what they thought, they'd suddenly realise, hang on, we all agree. No one's actually cancel us for this.
No.
We all think exactly the same on this particular issue.
But that's what we were talking about, was that, obviously the TERFs or whatever the fuck have been saying some of these problems exist for some time. And it's like, well, it's not actually bigotry. It never has been. It's always come from a place of compassion. And all we've done is actually just go, okay, this is what we said would happen.
Yeah.
And so can we just now maybe just have a chance and listen and go, okay, I understand. We're all compassionate. We're all good people. We're all lefties. We're all in this together. There's some outliers. Now, how many more women's lives need to be destroyed and how many more people need to be cancelled?
Yeah.
Right? Because I talked to somebody whose career is, there's a number of people whose careers are over this stuff.
Yes.
Because they've been pushing. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, hang on, can we just meet somewhere? And I hope, because it's really hurtful.
Yeah.
It's painful to be outcast.
When I look at the things that are the actual issues being fought over, I just think
they're sensible.
These are things that reasonable people could disagree on.
Yeah.
These are things, there are people out there who absolutely hate transgender people and genuinely want to see them killed.
But that's
we're
very
not talking
few.
about We're not talking about these people, and we're not talking about those issues. We're not talking about deny them personhood. We're not talking about don't let people live their lives. We're talking about specific issues of philosophy and policy that
safeguarding.
I believe truly in my heart that two people can differ over without either of them being a monster. And that's what worries me when you see people being demonized for things that are just so... I have an analogy I come back to on issues, which is like, you go through your life believing that every dog in the world will bite you.
Yeah.
And then you meet a dog that, licks your face. Now, you can either decide I was wrong about thinking every dog will bite you, or you can decide this isn't really a dog. And I
Yeah.
apply that to people. You can
Yeah.
either you meet someone who is a good, decent, reasonable person who believes something in opposition to you, and you can either decide you were wrong about people who disagree with you being awful,
Yeah.
or you can decide this person must be awful. And too many people are deciding I can't have been wrong in my preconceptions. They
Yeah.
must just be a disgusting person.
Yeah.
And I think that's wrong.
And that's the thing, is that I hang out in the gender critical areas only because it's the only place I'm allowed anymore.
Yeah.
Not because I'm aligned with a new tribe. It's just because I have a more middle of the road view. I believe that toilet issue is such a distraction from everything, which is we have a design problem.
Yeah.
And we need a law that and budget and grants for businesses so that they can make design changes so that everyone is safe. It's not an issue. It's an engineering one, right?
Yeah.
But it's the women, it's just women's spaces, right? But anyway, but the thing that is that you'll go there and having been told that they are terrible, hateful, awful bigots. And there's a few that say a few things and they misgender and they do things like that. But again, that's Reddit for a start. But second of all, that doesn't represent all of the view. And you know what? I've seen this happen. I've been, around these circles for about a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And I've seen that when a gender confused kid comes in, they embrace them. They show them love. When people come in who have already transitioned and want to detransition, they are welcomed with love. If you go in there as a liberal feminist who's clueless,
yes,
right, which is often come in and start using the word cis and those sorts of things, they still embrace you and go, okay, oh yeah, I was you once. And then I started to, it's actually a very nice community, and it's not, and that's the thing that upsets me, is that if you listen to Alicia, she's a really lovely person. They're good people.
Yeah.
Megan Murphy she's been a pariah, and she has been so tremendously giving and welcoming, and she takes the time to sit down and explain in good faith all of these things, and it's just not very fair. Making her out to be David Duke of fucking. It's just like this is not what's happening, So, and it's again, that's that thing where people don't give me the benefit of the doubt to know that it's all is not what it appears, and I
feel like the aim of all this is to stop people questioning, and to stop people even finding out more about the other side.
Yeah. And there's a lot of money on this.
Because people are afraid that if people, it's like questioning. It is like a religion. It's like questioning religion because, priests will try to stop you finding out what the non-religious are even saying, just in case.
We're heathens.
Knowledge is dangerous.
Burn the witch.
Yeah.
It's the big lie, right?
Yeah.
Goebbels' big lie. But it's interesting. Anyway, I know we've gone for a bit, but.
Oh yes, I'll have to leave you.
Yeah, this is great. I love just talking.
But I'll be back.
Yes, we need to do more of this because I want to talk about the shit of the week all the time. But anyway, this is Ben's book again. Let me turn the mirroring off. If you get it, it's available at Booktopia.
Yep.
I fucking have no. I'm useless with this. You can learn to read backwards. If you can't read backwards, you shouldn't be arguing politics on the internet. There we go.
Hold your computer up to a mirror.
Yes. All right. I've got mirroring on the thing so that I'm on the right, and then I have to switch. And anyway. I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Let's hope that this passes soon. And Ben is not alt-right.
Let's see.
Yeah.
No, I promise.
He's just laughing at this shit like we all are.
Yeah. You got to laugh, don't you?
Let's all have a beer and have a laugh, and we'll be all right.
Everyone Have a laugh.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Still not fucking working. Fucking dead. It's Mad Dogs and Thunderbolts. You can get it at booktopia.com.au, which is, and my copy is signed, so I'm not sure if there's any left, but get on it. He's also got other books as well, so have a check. Okay, thank you. Bye.